Okay, so today I'm joined by Nigel Watson of Anchored in Worthing. Nigel opened his pub, I think it was in 2013, is that right?
That's right, yeah. August the 23rd.
Was it? Fantastic. And I believe was it the first micropub to open in Sussex?
It was indeed, yeah.
Excellent. And you also received some BBC coverage as well in 2014.
Yeah, that's right. I was having problems getting my extended hours because when I first opened, they gave me really shit hours. And then, so I don't know, somehow or other, the BBC got hold of the story, came along, interviewed me, and it was the best publicity I've ever had. 90 seconds on prime time Southern TV or BBC News South, whatever it's called. Couldn't get a better advert than that.
Fantastic. So that
worked very well for me.
Kicked things off nicely for you then.
Yeah.
And you previously had experience running a pub prior to opening Anchored in Worthing, didn't you?
Yes, I was. I was in Chertsey. I was managing a pub called the Time at the Tavern. It was another free house, and I had pretty much a free rein what to beers to get in there. But I just felt I'd done all I could do there. Time to move on and do it for myself.
Excellent, and the rest is history, as they say. And by all accounts, you're a passionate, for want of a better word, activist, I suppose, and campaigner for the interests of micropubs across the UK. And you've been involved in, recently I noticed, a petition to prevent the government from imposing tax increases on microbreweries.
That's right, yeah. There's a big problem. Rishi Sunak said last year, I think, that it was going to put the what they call the beer duty up. So at the moment, if you're a small brewer, if you brew up to, I think it's 5,000 hectolitres, and God knows what a hectolitre is, somebody else will know about that. 5,000 hectolitres, I think it is, you get a much reduced beer duty. It was to give the small brewers a good chance of competing then against the mass-produced rubbish that most people have to drink. And there is talk of that being taken away from the microbrewers, and it will just kill off thousands and thousands of jobs in the country. So I'm obviously, and I only support microbreweries. I have nothing to do whatsoever with any major multinationals. And most, not all, but most micropubs are of the same ilk.
Yeah.
So it was vitally important to me to make sure the word got out, and it's there's been a very good response to the campaign.
When are the government looking to do this? Have they put a timescale on it then?
Yeah, next March. This coming March, the next budget.
Okay, so we're hoping, fingers crossed, that they're going to maybe review that decision then.
Well, they really ought to with the ongoing pandemic. The micro brewers have been brewing. They've, a few of them doing a few cans, but they're not up to the normal sort of speed. I know 2 or 3 that haven't brewed at all. They don't do bottles, they don't do cans, they only do casks. So they're not, they'll get hit massively. There seems to be no joined up thinking from central government. I don't think they understand quite what a powerful and important part of the economy the hospitality industry is. Not just micropubs, the whole. I'm talking, the cafe next door to me, the hotels down the end of the road that we've got here in Worthing. It's the whole broad spectrum. It's a tourism, hospitality, all should, and we're all being hammered. We haven't been able to work properly since March the 21st last year. We did have a small window when you could open, but very restricted hours from July the 4th last year. That didn't work for me, and for many other micro pubs in particular. We don't have the space. We're small. We are micro pubs.
By definition.
Name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm 21 feet long by 7 feet wide in my pub. So there's no way I could sort of do 2 metre social distancing. I will have to say, council here were very, very helpful. We've got a very good licensing officer here in Worthing, and he managed to secure me a parking space outside my pub, and which was a 4 metre by the width of the car, basically. And they put barriers up around that for me but that was until the end of December. Obviously, that's gone, and we were shut anyway for when they went in. So, However, that was helpful. So I can't knock the local licensing people that much. In Worthing, I know I do have anecdotal evidence of other micropub owners in other areas of the country who had absolutely no support whatsoever from their licensing people. They were trying to put tables outside, we were allowed to, but they shafted basically.
So it's a shame there was no consistent approach there between local authorities as to what they were
nothing whatsoever, nothing at all. It was up to the individual. It struck me as being up to the individual licensing officers,
really personal decision
and local council policy. There was no. I mean, it should have been a directive from central government, to be quite honest, who didn't say anything. UK Hospitality, the organisation led by Kate Nichols, has been lobbying for outdoor spaces. Say the City of London, for instance, has granted the carte blanche for all their pubs and restaurants and cafes to have an outdoor seating area, and that's bloody difficult in some of the places in the city.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got nobody going there anyway. They're working from home.
Yeah.
So there is, there's a massive sort of disparity between right across the country. Nobody knows what's happening.
No, it's a shame, isn't it? I mean, apart from the obvious challenges at the moment, do you have a general feeling on how the industry is coping and surviving, sort of in general, with the people you're in touch with?
It's difficult to say. Because we've had the grants, and they've kept the bills being paid in the pubs, over the last year, or getting on now for a year. Didn't really have any income as such. Your bills still go out. I have to pay my insurance each year. The gas and electric, although minimal, still has to be paid. Still get your standing charges to be paid each month. So I've a feeling it's my own gut feeling, and I've no evidence for this, but I think that the smaller independent pubs and micro pubs are surviving this better than the big chains. The big chains apparently got all the money, but if they haven't got the money, they've got access to money, which small businesses don't have. But I think we're going to come out of this in a better position, I feel, in terms of we're not going to be saddled with debt. I think, there was a £20,000 or whatever it was. I think it was 20% of your turnover if you were allowed.
Oh, that's the loan where you could...
which is a very low interest loan.
And you don't pay for the first 12 months, I think.
That's right, yeah. Actually, it becomes due now, because it was all available last July, I think. It becomes due this June or July. You've got to start paying.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, anybody who took it out, myself included, thought, great. Well, we've got a year. We'll be open for a year before we start paying it off. And of course, we haven't been. So I think that's another thing that I'm trying to sort of get some interest in, is moving that, because when people took out the loan, they assumed that the loan would be repayable. You've been working for a year. We were all opening in July and August, and I didn't open until August. That was through just logistics. I just couldn't do it until I worked out how to get a few people in and make it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously with the seating outside, that made a big difference.
Yeah.
And the weather, of course, was amenable to us all sitting outside. This bloody winter would have been useless,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit out there with, parkers and blankets and God knows what around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, I think the independents are going to come out slightly better than the bigger companies. People who employ a lot of people are going to be in deeper trouble. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Yeah, that's an interesting view. I suppose when they stopped the takeaway and collection in January, that was another sort of kick in the teeth, wasn't it?
It was. However, I was lucky. I sort of started up with the £20,000 I got last year. I thought, well, I need to get some sort of income coming in, so I set myself up as an off license.
Yes.
I did take a place in town, unfortunately, because of the third lockdown, as we're calling it. So I was able to move all my stock into my pub downstairs, and I've repurposed the pub for the time being as an off license. So again, just doing as I usually do, just more my sausage product. But I've got an awful lot of money invested in that, and I need to get back into town, to be honest, to the town centre shop.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of people, maybe like yourself, have just had to adapt quickly, and I think the survival instinct kicks in, doesn't it? And entrepreneurial people just think of ideas and are able to sort of adapt and survive, I guess.
Well, yeah, you do. You think, Christ, I've got no income coming in apart from the grants, which, as I said earlier, just the grants just cover your day-to-day running of a pub. You've still got to try and sort of put food on the table each month.
Absolutely, of course, yeah.
So therefore, when I heard about this place opening up in town as a department store, repurposing a department store, I thought, right, I've got a good chance there. And that was in October. I first started talking to them. We didn't actually open until the 12th of December, but there was quite a bit of capital expenditure involved in that. So it was a risk I took. And when we get back in there, I'm sure it'll all work out well. But at the moment, I'm, not having a casual passing trade is what you need for an off license. I think, for my we're selling. Yeah. We haven't. It's not work. It's covering costs here. That's about it. It pays for itself, but it doesn't show much in the way of profit margin. I've still got to pay VAT on everything, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you feel there's obviously we've talked about the sort of doom and gloom, but is there any feeling of optimism eking out now? Do you think with plans being announced by the government shortly, hopefully for a roadmap out, are people beginning to feel optimistic about that? Do you know?
I know lots of people are dying to get back into my pub and every other pub in the country. However, I think we're not going to be allowed. It's going to affect. And we're working on speculation, newspaper speculation, until Boris Johnson makes his announcements this afternoon. We really are only guessing, along with everybody else. We're making, make informed guesses.
Yes.
But I generally don't think we're going to be allowed to open pubs properly until at the earliest May. We're going to have. He's going to get the school going back. The schools, then there'll be another spike. And I go, oh no, nobody's predicted this. Of course you can.
Yeah.
Predict it. It's not. They can put. They seem to be able to put machines on Mars and can't work out quite how to keep how to shut.
Yeah.
I was shocked, unbelievably shocked when I found out the airports were still open. I just didn't, and there's supposed to be social distancing, and it's not. You go to, I don't know if you go to Tesco, Sainsbury's, the Co-op, Marks and Sparks. You go around there shopping. There's no everybody's got to keep to. Nobody does. They don't. No,
it's very loose, isn't it? Very loose.
You've got your mask on, great, but you've got no. There's no distancing involved in pubs. The pubs were very strict on, making sure everybody was sat at the tables, not moving about, putting the mask on to go to the loo, to come back to the table, sanitisers all over the place, all the other social distancing measures we took. And that wasn't cheap to do that, I know I didn't, but people were putting in Perspex screens all around the place. The price of Perspex went up probably about 60 or 70%. As soon as the pandemic started and people needed Perspex, what was a £10 sheet suddenly become a £20 sheet.
Yeah, the power of demand and supply. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just a couple of things finally then, really. How's the industry changed and evolved since you opened? Has the blueprint pretty much stayed the same for a micropub, or has it really changed much in the last sort of 7-8 years?
It's changed enormously. There are a few of us who are the original micropubs who stick to the original ethos of just doing cask ale, a bit of wine, and no lagers or keg stuff. However, I think as the keg suppliers improved enormously over the last few years, and with the power of a lot of the small London brewers, that producing very nice beers, and now it's gone countrywide. It's not just London brewers anymore. More and more people are putting in keg lines. However, there's a as to what constitutes a micro pub now. I think those of us who were in there at the very beginning were a little bit slow on actually probably defining exactly what a micro pub is. I mean, we didn't want to be hard and fast, but there's definitely it could definitely have done with a better definition. It's people are now opening quite large places and calling themselves micropubs because micropubs have got a good name.
Yeah,
and they're opening them as. Right, I opened mine as a business, but it was more of a social enterprise as well. I chose to open until 9:30 in the evening. I've got experience in pubs, and all the trouble in pubs tends to happen around sort of between 10 and midnight, when people are getting tanked up. So I, get rid of them. And what if they, as it happens, cask drinkers generally aren't the sort who are going to cause a lot of trouble, but. And I only say generally because obviously some of them will do, but it has changed, and it's somehow it's worrying to me that they don't have the people are just jumping, basically bandwagon jumping, and that does tick me off somewhat. I mean, I'm a member of a Facebook group. I'm forever getting into trouble with people on there for saying. Stating my opinion, shall we say?
Yeah. I mean, by definition, a micropub can't really be a large pub just because it doesn't fit the name micro, does it? But like you say, if it's become a trend and a buzzword, people will still try and use that, won't they, to their advantage? So, I guess some of the and some of the things like no live entertainment, door security, late license, those sort of things will always stand true, won't they? And I suppose a lot of people are doing some lines of gin and other things have crept in, other trends. Which is interesting to see.
I must admit, I've had to go down the road of the gin under pressure from certain customers. So I keep one gin on there.
Well, you're always going to get a couple come in where the man drinks likes his beer and the lady likes a G&T, I guess. No, not wishing to stereotype too much, but I suppose
it does happen the other way around as well. Yes, it has.
I'm sure it does. Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, I just want to finish with one last question, if that's okay. Do you have any general advice you can give to anyone who is brave enough to think about opening a micropub in the near future, with pandemics aside and everything?
Pandemics aside, yes, I would say find your premises. Make sure it's got a very low rateable value. And I can't remember what the threshold figure is now. It used to be £6,000. But if you've got a rateable value, you'll get a 100% small business rates relief. So make sure that your premises you get is qualifies for the small business rates relief. And make sure you don't pay too much money rent, or if you can buy a place, do it. That's even better, of course. And then speak to your local brewers. There's 1,500 or more, probably 2,000 brewers in the country now, and get try and stick to everything local. Keep everything local, in my opinion. Don't go for if I'm in Yorkshire, I'll drink Yorkshire beers. If I'm in Sussex, I'm going to drink Sussex beers. Then I'm going to Devonshire beers. It's. I think that you've got to carve a niche for yourself, and I think that keeping things local is as good a way of doing it as any.
Yeah, I think that's attractive to a lot of people, knowing that everything's sourced locally. It's a bit like restaurants, isn't it? Sort of sourcing local produce for the food they put out to customers. So absolutely. Okay, that's fantastic, Nigel. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Welcome.
And good luck with your campaigning, and I hope that you'll be able to open up again soon.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah, we'll find out in a couple of hours' time, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. All the best. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Thanks a lot, Neil. Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.